It is officially September, so in my world, that means that it is fall. I have my pumpkin mug. I'm making pumpkin food. I have fall decorations. Listen, I don't care how basic it is. I am here for all of it. Today I'm going to show you how to make my pumpkin bread. Yes, you can get this at the store. Yes, you can get this at Starbucks and all the places. However, if you make it at home, one, it costs less money. And two, it's so delicious at home. It's fun to make with your kids. It's good to pack in lunches, have for breakfast. It checks off all the boxes, all the things. Quick breads are one of my favorite things to make for the obvious reasons. It's bread, but it's quick. So I have two really big bowls here. That's all you really need. You don't need a hand mixer or even a stand mixer for this. So I'm gonna get my dry ingredients together. So I have my all-purpose flour right here, and my baking soda, which is our leavening for this, and my pumpkin pie spice. Oh, it smells so good. And I put it in this cute jar. So pumpkin pie spice is actually really easy to make at home. I'm gonna put the link for the recipe for my homemade pumpkin pie spice below. I just feel like it makes such a huge difference, and I actually add cardamom to my pumpkin pie spice. Now it's time for the sugar. I'm using light brown sugar for this, but you can use, does that kind of fit? It fits. Okay, I'm using light brown sugar today, but I use dark brown sugar for this too. It just adds a richer flavor, and the light brown sugar is just gonna be a little bit lighter. They are both equally as good. So now I just put it through the sieve, and the reason I do that is because and it's mostly because of the brown sugar. So if you want to just do this part for the brown sugar, that's fine. But I do find that it makes everything kind of just mix in a lot nicer, makes it lighter in texture. Because this is a dense bread, so anything we can do to make it lighter helps. This is what the lumps can look like. See how we saved ourselves there? So then I just use my hand to kind of break them up, and there will be some that won't go through. You do not want those in here. Give it another little whisk just to make sure everything got mixed well together. So I add salt after I put everything through the sieve because I use kosher salt, and I find that sometimes it doesn't go through, and I don't want to lose my salt. I use kosher salt because I like having a bite of salt in my baking, and most of my baking I use kosher, unless it's something like a meringue, then I will use something more of a fine grain. 4 eggs. Oh, I got a shell. My favorite way to get the shells out is to actually use the rest of the shell, scoop it out. I'm sure there's some scientific reason for why that works, but it just works. Now, of course, our pumpkin. This is a 15-ounce can of pumpkin puree. I actually like the canned pumpkin. I just find that it works really well when it comes to baking because it doesn't get as watery as if you make it from scratch. I will, however, add a link below in case you would like to make it from scratch. And now our sour cream. I love baking with sour cream. And I bake with sour cream a lot because of the acidity that it adds. So that means it's going to react to that baking soda that we put into the dry ingredients. And it's very, very rich and creamy. And I just think it makes everything so kind of luscious and lovely. I hashtag that, luscious and lovely. This is really fun for the kids to do too because my kids love to whisk. So I like to make sure this is really well incorporated and nice and light. And now, what else do we need to add? Oh, I need vanilla. Oh, we need to open a new one. Oh, I can't get it open. Come on, people. Oh, got it. This is actually a Mexican vanilla, and I just think it's a little bit more earthy than the Madagascar, but the Madagascar is great too. And I love the Tahitian, but I would use Tahitian for things like sugar cookies or frosting or things like that. 2 things that are going to add moisture to this that will make this the opposite of dry. People feel very strongly about the word moist. Butter and oil. Either use and olive oil, which actually is really great. I use an avocado oil, and it doesn't taste like avocado. The reason I do both is because I find if it's just butter, if you just use butter as your sort of like your fat in this, I do find that it's great the first day you make it, but it can be a little dry afterwards. And if you use just oil, sometimes it can be too heavy. So I like the marriage of the two. I do half butter, half oil. Butter for the flavor and the richness, and oil because that makes it kind of stay soft and moist. Okay, now we combine the two together. So just add the dry mixture then into the wet mixture. If baking is not your thing or it feels intimidating, this is one to try because there's really no crazy tools or technique or anything like that for this. It's 2 bowls and a whisk. I think you can do it. Look how pretty that is. Just add a little bit by a little bit, and the reason I do this, just add a little bit at a time, is because then you don't get clumps. And that makes the overall outcome of the bread just much nicer. You want to be careful not to overmix. If you overmix, then it becomes tough. I just like to take my spatula and scrape down all the sides and the bottom just to make sure I got everything. These are 9x5 loaf pans. I'm going to spray these with cooking spray because these pans are relatively new, so they are still very non-stick. However, if your pans are a little bit older, I would do a coat of butter and then put some flour on there and tap it out so that it's coated with flour and butter, and that's going to save it from getting stuck on the bottom. But I'm just going to spray it. If you have any kind of worry that it's going to stick no matter what, you can actually put a little bit of parchment paper on the bottom after you spray. Put the parchment paper in and then spray again, and that will just ensure that you don't have anything that's going to stick to the pan. Evenly distribute this between the 2 of these. Now, we don't want to waste any of this lovely batter. Even everything out. These guys go into a 350-degree oven for about 50 to 60 minutes. These look so pretty. And let's see if they come out. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Oh my goodness. So I let these cool for a little bit after they come out of the oven, and that makes it easier for them to get out of the pan. Just a little push. And I love that this makes 2 loaves because one you can give away or you can freeze it. This freezes beautifully. And the other is for you. Look how beautiful that is. I always love how unique they are too, because each one will have different details. I love it. Oh, I love it so much. Okay, I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna cut into it. Look at that. I like the edge. My kids call it the butt. The butt of the bread. That is some beautiful pumpkin bread. The butt of the bread. Mmm. You have to make pumpkin bread this season. It's a requirement. It's taking everything in me not to like peel that off and eat it. That is the best part. Right there. I hope you get a chance to make this recipe because as you saw, it is very easy. And since it makes 2, you can wrap this up, give it as a gift. It gives you a reason to gift your food to somebody, which is my favorite thing to do. And as you can see, it's just so beautiful. I love having something like this around my house. I feel like it just adds such a nice cozy element to the fall and really kicks off fall, in my opinion. It is not fall until you make homemade pumpkin bread. And you saw just how easy it is. You have no excuse. The recipe for this will be in the show notes below. You can also find it at FromScratchWithMaria.com. You can follow me at FromScratchWithMaria. And please make sure to like and subscribe. I'm gonna take this off because it's still warm and it's fogging up. Don't put the lid on until it cools down. My goal is to start weekly videos with more in-depth recipes and DIYs and all the things. So please subscribe so that you get notified when I have my weekly videos come out. And that is how you make pumpkin bread from scratch. Bye. I was born and raised just in the kitchen, making absolutely everything from scratch, from jellies to marinara, I mean, you name it, we made it. And just the fact that I get to share that with people on a daily basis just makes me so happy.